Hey, it's Mac with PriceActionTradingSystem.com, and it is Monday. It is June 5th. This will be our chart lesson for the day, and it was mostly just mixed sideways trading today. We had a fairly decent two legs up, and then we had a fairly good trend down, which also consists really of two legs. And then we just kind of chopped sideways. We recovered some off the bottom, but not much. So I just call this kind of a mixed trading day. I meant to start with the daily chart. Let's flip over to that and just see what it looks like. And you can see it here. We went much higher. We got up into the oversold territory. Anything between this purple and brown is starting to get severely oversold, or overbought, I should say, not oversold, overbought. So it's about time for a correction here. But you know, this looks like kind of a reversal day. Is it? We'll just have to wait and see. Um, but we're definitely getting into over. Of course, you can be overbought for a long time. I mean, you can see here we were overbought for a few days before it finally sold off. Here we sold off pretty quickly and then came back and sold off pretty quickly again. So you just never know how long you can stay into overbought territory. And if I said oversold there, I should have said overbought. I'm not sure what I said there. I'm still, uh, but I should be saying overbought. This is overbought. Anything down here would be oversold. So we're creeping into overbought. You can see we've been hanging below that purple line, like we just don't really get over there. But you can see we're going higher, making higher highs and higher lows, but they're very weak, so they just kind of continue to kind of stay below that purple and brown line up there. We got above it for a little bit on Friday, but today we closed below it there. So this could be a reversal type day. We'll see. It might only be just a temporary some selling from this high levels, and we could continue higher tomorrow. So that's what it looks like on the daily chart. Let's flip over to back to the 2000 tick chart, and we'll go through the trades real quick. Okay, real quickly before we go through the trades, I'll be here all week, but I will be out Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday of next week. I have that fishing trip that I'd almost forgot about, so I just happened to look at my calendar today and remembered it, so I wanted to kind of give you a heads up. What I'll probably do, since I'll be out Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday, and because I was out a week of May, I'll probably do a chart lesson on Friday. So we'll probably have a chart lesson um, Thursday and Friday that week, just to make up a day for me being gone so much. So we'll look at that if I get back. Um, Assuming we don't have any travel problems, I get back on time, and I may be able to. I know there won't be a chart lesson Monday, but there may be a mid-morning chart because we're not leaving out till around here till out of here till lunchtime or so. So I may have time to. I may come in for a few minutes in the morning and pop up a chart or whatever if I have time. I'm no promises yet. Our departure time's still up in there, but it's just 3 days. I'll be gone Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday. So I know I've been out a lot, but I usually don't take a lot of vacation either, so I'm kind of making up for it with all my health issues and all. I'm just trying to take some time off where I can. I need it. So anyway, I had a stomach bug over the weekend, so I was miserable all weekend. There's some kind of stomach flu going around here, and I had it, and so I was sick all weekend. I just can't seem to get a break lately. But I'm feeling better today. Actually, I was feeling a little better by Sunday afternoon, and then this morning I was kind of back to normal. So I came on in regular work today, and I plan to do a regular week this week. So, but anyway, let's get to the chart lesson. That's enough about me and my issues. But pretty good trading day today. You had to be a little patient, but this was a nice uptrend here. There were multiple triple tests all the way up here, and that's what kind of made this a pretty good trade setup here. Um, and then we had this nice trend down. Unfortunately, you didn't get a lot of opportunity to enter this one. There's one lower high here, possibility, and then it was kind of quiet after that. So, but lots of opportunity here early on. You just had to be patient and kind of wait for. We had this news item which kind of knocked out most of this morning. I marked that trade right there, but I wouldn't take it in that news, right into that news stuff. Just sit tight. I mean, it would have worked, but there's a couple of green ones in here early. But let's zoom in and we'll go through the trades, and trying to remember to zoom in enough here so you can see things. But you can see this trade here. Basically what I marked this at, you can clearly see that trend line, and prices are slowly chopping higher. This is basically like a breakout pullback from this. You see that resistance across there. We finally broke out and we tested it at least 3 times there. And so I like that trade. I marked it green. It's a little aggressive, but as long as you got room to get out from between here and there, you might mark that blue. So, I mean, I think there's enough room. I didn't specifically measure it, but it didn't end up mattering. But let's just measure it. I think there's enough room. Yeah, you can see there's actually an extra tick in there. So you got enough room. I like this trade just because that was strong resistance. And then suddenly you tested it 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 bars in a row, and it holds, and it gives you a pretty good bar. Again, right off the EMA and the trend line, that's almost a no-brainer. I mean, you could mark that blue. I marked it green just because it is a little congested, and that'll throw some traders. So most traders probably shouldn't trade it when there's some congestion there. So I did mark it green, but I like that trade. And things run up, no other entries in there, and then of course about 8:45 you want to be flat for that 9 o'clock news item here. And you can see it did give it a pretty good jolt. And of course you had the green channel working up, you get the break, and this is what gets most people is you get the break, and the timing here is when to go long. That's what you got to be concerned about. Of course, it doesn't matter because it's in this news item here, but normally that's what gets people. And, you know, they see a second entry. Like right here, there's a second entry. And I bet a lot of people took that, got trapped, and turned down. If you did take that, that would be a great trap to trade and exit and just flip-flop and try to get your money back, or if you weren't in it. But, of course, it's during that 8:45, right into that 9 o'clock news, so hopefully you didn't trade it anyway. And we run on down, you get a break, move to a new low, and then it takes off. And I like, if you're going to take a chance at a trade, I like this one. Notice where it bounces off. It bounces off the close from Friday. And you can see we found some support there earlier, and we found another, and now you got your break. And look how far we are from the EMA. That's one you might take that chance on to try to catch that bottom. Of course, it's still in the news, so just ignore it. Runs up, fails on the breakout, even during the news. Look how strong that move was. But they just ran out of momentum, and then they take it right. Usually, all these news item moves, they'll take it back before the day's over, usually within the first hour or so, usually right away. So don't chase these trades. In fact, be prepared for them to reverse and go back and reset to where they were before the news happened. So, which was right down here. And you can see we came all the way back down, went a little bit further, and then bounced out of there. So, but you get this is this little spike, and we went into a channel. Notice the new high here, and you get a first entry, second entry. So if it breaks lower there, it's a failure. There's not a lot of room to that low, but it is a failure. So, and it doesn't matter about the signal bar because of the failure. It's coming right out of that news item, so you got to be careful. It works. You would have got a scalp out of it, nothing more, because it does come back and run the stop on any runners or anything. And then we just kind of continue to chop lower. You might have looked at this as a failure as well. You've got that high, and you try to go higher once, and it actually turns. I think this breaks higher and then turns down. So technically, it's not a failure. But if this would have gone lower and then higher and then back down, you could treat that like a failure and probably go short there. But I'm pretty sure this went higher first, if I remember right. And that's getting a little convoluted. That's a little more advanced than most of you probably want to be thinking anyway at this point. So just skip that trade. But you're working down. You do get your break. It's just a first entry there. Another first entry, another first entry, and then and we start just going sideways. But here's where you get that. You can clearly see that trend line working up, and you can also see the support right there. And we're making a higher low every single time, but we just got some resistance across there. So you got to be careful with the resistance and make sure you have enough room to get out. But on that triple test off that key entry point there, and that being the fourth touch of that trend line, I like going long there. You're just hoping to get a scalp, nothing more. But you probably get a little extra of that than a scalp out of that. Not a whole lot, but I mean, you could get a runner out of that. I don't think it ever would have come back and stopped your running, but you probably don't want to ride this kind of stuff out trying to get a runner. Just take your profit and take your profit on your runner and take some profit and be happy with it. But it moves up a notch, and then you're moving along, and you get another triple test. Really, the triple test happened right here, but it never broke higher until here after it broke lower again. So that's where the only place you could enter was on the engulfing bar. And I probably wouldn't have a problem entering on that engulfing bar because it's still creeping up. Both of those bars are still creeping up that trend line. And this did break lower first and turn up. And you may still go long there, although I'd probably sit tight if I didn't enter that on the engulfing bar. If there's room to go get out there, maybe you still take that trade. It would have still worked. It's just a chance it pulls back again. But this runs on up to the other side. You get a break here, new high. Then we're working lower, and lo and behold, you get another triple test right off the trend line. Another nice signal bar. Just go long there. These are repeat patterns. Every time you see it, take it. Then you get a second entry long here. We haven't quite gotten back to the highs, and we turned back down. So there's a good chance we could still go higher here, but we may be running out of momentum. That is a little bit congested, so you got to be careful with that one. Maybe you take it, maybe you don't. I marked it green just to point it out. It's a second entry. It's with the trend. It's kind of it is still closing above the EMA. It's kind of an oddball spot. But you tried to go lower there, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 bars and couldn't. So, and of course it takes off, and then it comes back again. And you do get a break here, but you get a second entry that closes back inside your trend line. Still plenty of room back to the EMA. I like that just to try to get a scalp, and maybe that's going to run to your new high. And sure enough, you would have got a runner there, and that one runs on up. And then lo and behold, it comes back. It gives you a 1, 2, 3 triple test again, and a second entry long with a nice signal bar. Normally I'd tell you to sit tight in the middle of no man's land, kind of like that. Similar to here, but especially now we have a break in new high. But with that triple test, and we've seen that repeat pattern, just take it, and you see it would have worked again. Runs on up and runs out of momentum and reverses. I don't see any shorts up here I like. You might have looked at this as a reversal, but it looks a little congested and it never broke lower. So just stay away from that. Even though it works, stay away from it. And then you're just chopping sideways here. This was really tempting. I'm going to be honest with you. You got another triple test here, but we swapped over and we're trending down now. So really you would want to see your triple test off the high and not off the low. But because we've seen so many of them work, it's really tempting. And again, it's a second entry. Even though you're not looking for second entries and you're not counting them there, it's still 2 legs back, and it's clearly a triple test. Pretty good signal bar. Opens here, trades all the way down here, and closes right back. That means some binds coming in. We did come off the low side. If this trend's going to be in play here, we should be going a little higher probably. So maybe you take, I didn't mark it, but if you see all that, you understand what's going on. What concerns me with this one, if it was clearly running up and down from high to low each time, I'd say take that trade. But the fact that it couldn't get above that midline right there means that maybe only room, and you see how it did find resistance there. It may mean that's all the room you got. And if that's all the room you got, you just barely have enough room to get out, nothing to play with. I'd probably just skip that trade. I just don't think it's worth taking. as tempting as that is, that's the one that'll trap you sometimes because it's got reasons to want to like it, but a lot of reasons to say, hey, just be careful. Then you turn that off the trend line. You try to go higher once, twice. So there's another failure there. Um, you only test this once, really, but it is a failed second entry long. It's a pretty good signal bar. It breaks higher and turns down. The problem is if you go short here, you do not have much room, and you see it didn't go far before it reversed. If you trade the engulfing bar, maybe you take that. I don't think I wait till here to go short, but if you trade it on the engulfing bar, which I wouldn't have a problem with that, maybe you take that trade. And of course, it bounces first entry, second entry, and then a lower high right here with a nice signal bar. I like that one just because of the type of signal bar and how strong it is on a lower high, and closes back in the trend and off it goes. And you're expecting prices to come down here. You don't know that they're going to push on through that quickly and easily, but they do. And runs on down. You actually looks like it's going to bounce, and this is why you got to be careful with these trying to pick these bottoms because you would have got trapped there. And then finally it makes a new bottom. Big overshoot too. I didn't draw the. Didn't really matter because there weren't any setups here or anything off of this. Get a first entry, and then technically that is a second entry, but you can't use that for inside bar for a signal bar. Then it comes back and you test this a few more times. There's actually another second, and there's a new low there. So first entry, then second entry, but your signal bar is no good. This bar is what, like 5 ticks, and it does make a higher low, but there's always a chance this thing could go lower or tick higher 1 tick, and so I wouldn't risk it. Turns out to be a pretty nice move up. Close outside, new high, and it's back down here testing this again. And finally it fails and breaks lower. Normally I wouldn't mark this, but because you had your break and new low a long time ago, and we just kind of been chopping sideways, and look at that. It looks like a capitulation bar, just kind of like that one did, and see how it reversed afterwards. It breaks lower and reverses instantly back inside. That's going to fail, even if it's not failing here, or even if it's going to be temporary. It's failing, and being that far away from the EMA. These are the ones you can often catch and catch these big runners on. Unfortunately, this one you didn't get a big runner, but these are the kind I like to try to catch a runner. They're aggressive, and there's always a chance you can lose, but a lot of times these things will mark important lows or highs for the day. Today, I mean, it was the low of the day, and we didn't really go much lower after that, so that really still held true. We just didn't get that big a rally because we didn't have much more time. And that's the other reason you probably mark that green, not be too aggressive with it, because it is close to 2:30, and if you make a mistake this late in the day, you're probably not going to have a winning day, not unless you've already had a big day. So that's the thing. I mean, it's fairly low risk. I mean, I can't remember how many. I mean, there's 6 ticks there. It's fairly low risk. I mean, you can't get burned too bad. If you've had an okay day, worst you probably do is break even or just win a little bit. So maybe you take that trade because those will pay off. I'm just telling you. But don't trade. If you're new to this, don't trade those. Never try to pick bottoms or tops. That's one of our #1 rules. You'll see me mark these, and for good reason, but you need to be a very good chart reader, and you really need to understand and know what you're doing to trade these. Otherwise, just leave these alone, and the failed second entries, leave them alone. There's a reason I don't teach those in the manual, and that's because that's what most traders will lose on. You'll lose, even if you think you're a pretty good chart reader, you'll lose on them because they're difficult, and you need to be a skilled chart reader, not just a pretty good chart reader, not even a good chart reader. You need to be a exceptionally skilled chart reader to trade either of those trades. So, and I say that over and over and over, and be danged if somebody won't send me an email that hasn't been going but a month and want to know about a failure, why it failed on them. And I just refuse to even answer them because I tell you to stay away from them. And, I almost got to where I didn't want to mark them on the chart, but then some of my more experienced chart traders complain, hey, I want to know if you like it, please mark it. And so I'm danged if I do and danged if I don't. But I'm marking them, but I'm telling you up front, don't trade them. If you're not a skilled chart reader, do not trade them. And most of you are not nearly as skilled as you think you are. So, I'm talking, when I say skilled, I'm talking about you've been doing this profitably for 10 years or so. That kind of skilled. Not just break even or just started making money and you're reading it pretty good. I'm talking about you've been making money for years skilled. Then you can trade those because you're not going to hurt yourself. If you have a loss, you're going to make it back. But new traders they have a loss that usually leads to another loss and another loss, and they don't make it back. And then they're struggling again. So stay away from them. That's the only thing. I don't know any easier way or plainer way to say it than that is, but people just don't listen. Everybody thinks they're different. Everybody thinks they're better than the average trader, and they're going to be smarter than everybody else. And it doesn't work like that, unfortunately. And I'm here to tell you, I've seen it too many times. So anyway, there it is. That's how I saw it today. It's just sideways stuff, more of the same. We had a couple of nice rallies. This was a couple of good, nice days of rally there. It really was. There weren't a lot of entries, but there were some good entries, and it's definitely all uphill. And it's a lot easier to trade when it's all in one direction. You can make mistakes and still make money, but when it's choppy like this, you cannot make mistakes because it will burn you big time. So just keep that in mind. But anyway, I'm going to wrap it up. We'll be back again to do it tomorrow. I'm pretty much caught up. Of course, by the time I am caught up, it'll be time for me to leave again for a couple more days, and I'll be behind again. But unfortunately, that's just the way it goes. But summertime, it's going to be slow. It's probably going to get slower, and then it'll probably pick back up in the fall. That's generally the way it works. As the deeper you get into the summer, professional traders are all taking off and going on vacation, and the banks they're giving their guys time off, and everybody's will get dialed up for the fall, and it'll all kick back up heavy during the fall. So, but anyway, I'm going to wrap it up. We'll be back again to do it tomorrow. I'm done for today. This is Mac with PriceActionTradingSystem.com, and we'll see you next time.